Hello guys, welcome to Dr. Science. So today we are going to talk about B lymphocytes and their receptors. So B lymphocytes comes under adaptive immunity. So please watch my previous videos to understand what are the cells in innate immunity and what are the cells in adaptive immunity. So I'll just give a brief explanation of what is going on. So here is adaptive immunity, and adaptive immunity is divided into two types. Okay, one is humoral immunity and the other is cell mediated immunity. In humoral immunity, we will be talking about B cells or B lymphocytes, which in the presence of T helper cells will get converted into plasma cells, and these plasma cells will release different type of antibodies like IgG, IgA, IgM, IgE and IgD. Okay, in cell mediated immunity we will find mainly T cells, but today we will talk about B cells. So suppose this is a B cell here, it have certain receptors present on it. Here is a receptor, it is called as, let me draw a clear, so here the receptor is called as CD40 receptor. So you know that B cells are activated by T helper cells, right? So suppose here is the T helper cell, it have certain type of ligand present on it, and this ligand is for CD40, so it is called as CD40 ligand. So once the T helper cells bring this CD40 ligand to B cells, they get activated and they get converted into plasma cells. Okay, so these are the plasma cells, and these plasma cells will produce different types of antibodies. So what are the other receptors present on B cells? So suppose this is a plasma membrane of B cell. There are two types of receptors. So here is an receptor, and this receptor is nothing but an antibody. So B cells have antibodies present on their surface, and these antibodies are either IgM or IgD. Simply remember them as MD. Okay, so these are the B cells, and they have the surface receptor antibodies called as IgM or IgD. So what these surface receptor antibodies do, they help in binding of this antigen of bacteria, okay, or any viruses. Aside from that, they also have these proteins, and these proteins are alpha protein and this is the beta protein. This alpha protein is also called as CD79A, and this beta protein is called as CD79B. Okay, aside from that, there is also one other receptor which is the most important one. So here is another one which is called as Cd21 receptor, or you can call it as complement receptor 2, okay, or CR2. So what is the function of this CR2? So suppose this is the B lymphocyte here, or B cells, and they have this complement receptor 2 or CD21. Suppose there is a virus or a bacteria here, and we have produced antibodies against it. So this is the antibodies. So this part is called as FAB portion of the antibody, and this part of the antibody is called as FC portion of the antibody. And this FC portion here, it can go and bind with proteins called as complement proteins. This is called as complement proteins. So once these complement proteins are bound with the antibodies, they will go and bind with this complement receptor 2 protein here, and the B cells are activated, and you know the rest of the story. Okay, so that was about B cells. So we will take a look at the diagram. So as you can see here, so on the surface there are IgM or IgD antibodies on B cells. Aside from there are proteins called as immunoglobulin alpha or Cd79A and immunoglobulin beta or Cd79B. What they do, they are helpful in the signal transduction. IgM and IgD are helping in the trapping of the antigen, whereas Cd79A and Cd79B helps in signal transduction. And you can see here the Cd21 or CR2 receptor protein, which is called as complement receptor type 2 protein, helps in the activation of B cells. Okay, so you have to note another important point, that Epstein-Barr virus attacks this complement receptor 2 protein or CD21 and gains entry into the B cells. Once they enter into the B cells, they destroy the B cells. When there are no B cells, there are no plasma cells and there are no antibodies, right? So Epstein-Barr virus works by complement receptor 2 protein or CD21. So that was about B cells. Thank you.